Plants behind you.
Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good or be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. You deserve to feel good. We all deserve to feel good. And today's show is a special edition dedicated to the grassroots cannabis community as we honor the filmmakers Mark Schulze and Patty Cooney of the documentary Nectarball, The Story of Cannabis. First, here is a little video about what we do in the space as cannabis nurses. And then we'll get started. We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And you know, the more research I did, the more I discovered the cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses Group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.
Growing your health, growing in cannabis. Hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Mack. Really, really excited to be here. You all know that the grassroots cannabis holds a very, very special place in my heart. So we're really, really excited to hear from the filmmakers of Crystal Pyramid Productions that some of our cannabis nurse colleagues made the cut for the documentary Nectarball, The Story of Cannabis. So tonight I'm going to be interviewing the filmmakers Mark Schulze and Patty Mooney of Crystal Pyramid Productions and New Unique Videos. Patty Mooney and Mark Schulze are the dynamic team behind Crystal Pyramid Production, a well-known San Diego video production company. With a shared passion for storytelling and a commitment to producing top quality content, they have established themselves as pioneers in educational videos. Their latest project is the completion of the feature documentary 7 years in the making from around the world, Nectarball, The Story of Cannabis, which explores cannabis industry's evolution and cultural impact, delving into the history, science, and societal impact of cannabis. The film offers an insightful perspective on the cannabis industry through the interviews with medical experts, industry leaders, and individuals affected by the plant that the couple traveled around the world to meet. Welcome to the show, Mark and Patty. So excited to have you here. Let's just dive in. Nectarball. 7 years you guys were traveling. What was that like? And how did you choose the name Nectarball?
I can start with that. Patty and I met in 1982 on Valentine's Day, and we've been together ever since 1982. Before that, in 1972, I got my first little peek at some what might be called bud in those days, which was Acapulco Gold from 1972, of which I put a in my collection. There's a little bit of it from 1972, the actual bit I got that put in a Curad box from my aunt. And the first time I grew pot was at 16 years old, 1974. And that's the only picture of me with a plant from 19. I still had hair back then. Now I don't have much. Anyway, I called that because it looked kind of like little balls. So if you look at most buds that grow, including the ones, this is like from 2000. It's got little, like you see that what the people call nugs or little buds that grow. So I thought they all had those little crystals and nectar and sticky. So I called it Nectarball. So that was the impetus for the name Nectarball. And then the story of cannabis is because it's told by all the luminaries in the movie. We do no narration. Patty literally transcribed hundreds of the 165 interviews we did from all over the world, from South Africa. We just got back in February, and that's when we finish up the movie. We started, of course, here in California, the Emerald Cup in 2016. That's the first time I got kind of like, wow, I found a tribe. I could come out of the green closet and share my ideas of the Nectarball collection. And then Patty and I decided to make a documentary about that, because the people I met were so fascinating. Their stories were so vibrant and enlightening. And I thought I knew a lot about cannabis, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, boom, I'm getting educated by these guys and gals. And then Pat, I'll let her talk about it, but she had to do the bulk share of after we did the interviews, finally got back, after like traveling the world, Argentina, Uruguay, where they first legalized it, and Argentina, and just everywhere. So Pat, tell them how you kick some butt to figure out what this is all about. Pat, about your transcripts, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. My turn now?
Your turn.
Okay. So all these transcripts, so they filled up 2 binders when I printed them out. And I thought, what am I going to do? So I organized them into sections of what people were talking about. Farmers talking about how they'd been terrorized by our own government, by that camp thing, with helicopters just terrorizing them from the sky. And when they saw a helicopter, they'd have to stand still because it sees movement. And some of them still had PTSD. Some gave up their land, their livelihoods for the plant. And these stories really, really touched me. So then I would stack up the various categories. There was the prohibition, there was history, there was the farmer's plight, and then there was cannabis versus alcohol, cannabis versus opioids. And it's voluminous. I mean, the story of cannabis, it's a big bite to chew.
Certainly is. Should we pop up the trailer?
Let's do it.
Let's pop up the trailer and we can talk about that. So tell us about the trailer, Mark.
Well, Patty's, first of all, Patty's very humble here, but she is the driving force in the editing. So all the post-production was done basically by Patty. So this is a real mom and pop effort. That's why it also took 7 years plus COVID years.
Feel it.
Here it is.
You just need to feel it, and maybe then you will believe it.
It's really amazing how one plant stands at the epicenter of human consciousness. Throughout the ages, cannabis has played a critical role in human evolution in various ways. Our relationship with cannabis, aka marijuana, Mary Jane, ganja, pot, herb, weed, has been ecstatic at best and stormy at worst.
I've had my teeth kicked in, I've been put in a bathtub, and there are people talking about murdering me.
Going from code yellow, which was all the time, to code red.
We ended up getting 10 years in jail. That I gave up for this plant.
In 80 years, we've been told this is a dangerous drug.
So we're here to talk about cannabis as medicine, and it is. So I have a dream. Anybody have this dream?
It's one of the most beautiful plants that I've ever come across.
This is the passion that I have, and I know many other people that have, that understand the plant, that respect the medicine, and is healing people.
We keep discovering new things with cannabis, new aspects, medically speaking, but also industrial-wise, construction-wise, insulation. It's even energy-wise, it's mind-boggling.
You can't ask people to go from not paying these taxes, pay this, pay that. You're paying these people out of their homes and out of their businesses and out of things that they and their families have taken a lot of pride in building for years.
When we start peeling it back and looking at what's under the surface, I mean, the story is so much more complicated and so much richer and so much more exciting.
It changed my life. It really did. The music that was playing, I heard music for the first time.
Oh, wow. Let's see. How do we remove that? That was amazing. It saved my life. It truly saved my life. Cannabis saved my life. And this is what we're hearing over and over again. That was a beautiful, beautiful, promotion. That was a beautiful reel.
That was from 2020. Patty since then has made a trailer that's for 2023, because back then we thought it was going to be called Cannabis the Story, because we couldn't get .coms on certain things, but it's now Nectarball, the Story of Cannabis.com, or people can go nectarball.com. It takes you to the same page. You can look at the 1 minute and 30-minute trailer that was made by Patty just about a month ago. So check it out at nectarball.com.
Nectarball.com. Here is the website. So Nectarball, the call to action right now, everyone, is go to the website, go to nectarball.com and subscribe. Stay up to date with all the Nectarball news. Let's live a high quality life together. So this is where you're going to get updates on the release of the documentary, correct?
Correct.
That and more. Patty's also being humble again. She's doing a weekly Substack blog newsletter that is fabulous when it comes to all things cannabis and helping get everybody else's stories that didn't make it in the documentary out there too.
All right. Should we watch this other one?
Sure. If you
Let's do it.
What if we're right? What if all of a sudden they discovered that there's medical use for marijuana and that it is good for you and it's better than alcohol and it's better than opioids and it helps your health? What if we're right? What if they find that out?
Specific cannabinoids have medical value. These are facts.
I'm here today in hopes to assist in removing the demonized stigma of cannabis and the perception that cannabis is just about getting high. The true base of this plant has to be known.
I don't think anybody should ever go to jail for cannabis. It's a medicine, and everybody should have access to it.
This is something which, at the very, very least, is the key to alleviating suffering and extending life for millions of human beings. For returning some kind of balance to our society, and quite possibly of restoring our planet's natural balance as well.
All right. Well, coming soon means coming
on October 20th.
That's right.
World premiere, live virtual premiere that everybody here is welcome to attend. We'd love you to go there. So sign up on the nectarball.com website and we'll get you out the link to the Filmocracy world premiere. Well, there'll be a lounge where people can hang out and communicate and chat from 6:30 to 7:30, and then the movie starts. And afterwards, we're going to have wonderful question and answers and wonderful celebrity guests popping up to say hi. You might see yourself there, or EMAC, and you can talk to them. Who knows who you're going to see? John Selly. definitely going to hopefully be there. He's helping us out. So John Sally's going to be popping in, and Nurse EMAC, and we're just going to really have a good time. And then hopefully you guys will have some time to ask us questions, and sort of almost in person. Someday we'll try and do an in-person event, maybe in the winter, this coming winter too. So October 20th, big event.
Well, let's talk about the cast here, because you know what? You guys traveled the world for 7 years, interviewing thousands and thousands of patients and people and providers and thought leaders and, businesses. How did you narrow it down to the ones that made the cut for this 90-minute documentary?
Patty?
Well, I'd say my secret is the plant guided me a lot. I know it sounds a little woo, but the plant did guide me. And those voluminous 2 tomes of people's transcriptions, my eyes would light on oh, that's a great soundbite. And and so then I started compiling them, but they had to make sense. There had to be a spine first, and then the meat, I'd have to put the muscles on, and in the right order. So it was like a Tetris game. I had to fit those pieces in the right way where the story flowed and made sense.
Yeah. So do you have any? Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
And also just some of the people that didn't make the cut, Patty's planning on doing a weekly Canna Minute. So when you go on our website, you'll see faces like the circles you're seeing up on the screen now. And when you click on them, they'll come alive and talk to you for about a minute or less. So we're making Canna Minutes. There's going to be at least 165 Canna Minutes in the next couple of months, so that everybody is represented. And if this all works out and people watch the movie and love it and encourage us, because it's all just Pat and I doing all this work along with Jacob Rousseau, who did the marvelous job of audio, making the musical soundtrack. I almost forgot to mention that. And John Fitzgerald helping us get the word out to events and festivals, and John Sally, who will hopefully be helping us with as an executive producer for a potential huge series of multiple shows, where most everybody that didn't make this documentary will hopefully be in the new series, the Story of Cannabis series. But we need to find a platform and an audience. So please help get the word out, guys, because if it doesn't go viral, it's the old proverbial tree that falls in the forest. No one hears it or sees it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about, being filmmakers and getting a message across. Can you guys discuss the importance? Because, even as a clinician, I'm all in favor of cannabis, but can you discuss the importance of presenting a balanced view of both the benefits and potential risks associated with cannabis use? Because that's important, as thought leaders and filmmakers, we want to be able to provide information, that it is going to really truly help people navigate the what I call the most misunderstood plant in the world.
Well, I can quote you guys, the cannabis nurses. Number 1, go low and slow. Mm-hmm. It's your own endocannabinoid system, which is like a thumbprint. Everyone has a different one. And you have to learn how to operate that endocannabinoid system, which is the system that regulates all other systems of your body, as you know. And as Nurse EMAC said, it's medicine if you use it right. And you just have to learn how to use it right. And that's where you guys come in. And especially you two, with each of your products comes your expertise and your caring. People get a free session with you guys. I thought that was astoundingly amazing.
Well, perfect time. You ready? Perfect time to plug. Honestly, we have to plug our sponsors, right? Our sponsors today show is brought to you by Bloom Hemp. Life doesn't give you days off. It gives you bloom. So today's show is brought to you by bloomhemp.com. Bloom Hemp is a woman and nurse-owned national CBD hemp supplier leading with quality, safety, value, and patient-centered care. Bloom Hemp products are USDA organic, grown in the mountains of Colorado, and tested for purity, potency, cannabinoid, and terpene profiles. And they're proud to offer a free nurse line as well as free consultation and care plan. So go to bloomhemp.com, and where's my other little thing here? Green Nurse for 10% off. All right, that was a message from our sponsor. Perfect timing. Back to our show. Yes, services.
I think Raphael Meshulam, he passed away recently, and Frenchie Cannoli. There's some people that we interviewed that are no longer with us that had some very valuable things to say about it, because not everybody nobody right now they're still studying, trying to figure out what compounds, what active ingredients are really in cannabis that help everything from sleep to spasms to cancer fighting components and compounds in there, and terpenes. And it's like I said, it's a big lesson for us. Just doing the movie was a joy and a pleasure because of all the wonderful people we interviewed. Taught us so much, and meeting you, Sherry, and Elizabeth Mack, the nurses behind Bloom there. You guys are doing a great job. Our hats off to you for it.
Oh, thank you. We're here to decrease stigma. We're here to educate and empower. We're here to teach, and educate on the most misunderstood plant and change the paradigm of healthcare, and utilizing plants that are safe and effective and that can be used in conjunction with conventional care. The drivers of health live outside of the conventional system and are modifiable by us as people, patients, and providers, and it's really, really important that we educate on all of the different aspects of health and wellness, and how, the four pillars, connection, movement, rest, and nutrition, paired with cannabinoids and a healthy lifestyle, literally is completely 100% transformed my life. And this is why I do what I do. This is why I have this podcast, why I share this, is because cannabis saved my life, got me off of 18 pharmaceuticals, gave me my life back again, and now has allowed me to come forth as a nurse to teach, guide, and educate on the safe utilization of this for wherever patients are in their journey, right? And so that's one of the things that we bring to the table that's just a little bit different. As nurses here at Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse, we're also patients. We've been on the other side of the bed. We know what it's like to be scared. We know what it's like to be sick and suffering, and how this plant can influence in such a profound way. And so we want to teach people how to reach those levels of wellness much quicker. It took me 2 years to come off of all my pharmaceuticals, and it took me quite a long time to figure out how to make cannabis work for me as medicine, right? And so that's what we want to do as nurses, to help people reach those new levels of wellness quicker. And so that's why we do what we do every day. Teach, educate, and inspire.
You're giving back, just like the rest of us. Hopefully, the people that are watching this tonight are also giving back. Patty and I try to give back as much as possible. It's a tremendous amount of work to make a movie like this. Last time we did something like this was in 2008. Patty, was the Invisible Ones, homeless combat veterans video. We did a 30 minute, was it, or 45-minute?
45.
Documentary that we did. We just gave it away, as in those days it was DVDs, all over the country to help homeless combat veterans and homeless in general, which is obviously a problem. And you nurses are helping for the medicinal side too in such a great way, because even if, as some of the quotes in our video, whether you're like Ken Sobel said, people that are using pot, whether they are using it for medical purposes or not, if it's just even recreational, they're getting medical benefits, whether they know it or not, or like it or not. It's happening.
Absolutely. And we taught, right, wellness with weed, right? So if you're going to be consuming cannabis recreationally, I am all in favor of that, because I think it's safer than anything. However, you need to know the health benefits so you can optimize it. So say you want to use cannabis to have a good time and enjoy yourself, and you have a specific condition, why not get the most bang for your buck and pick a product that's going to allow you to have a good time and also benefit your health, right? And so there's nuances. So we can teach that, right? And educate people how to do that and make those choices using various different things, in their lives.
I kind of wanted to mention a personal story. One that motivated me throughout this whole process is when my father was on his deathbed, and you could see he was plainly suffering. He was a very stoic Irish guy. And our whole family gathered around the bed, and there was one evening when we asked him, he looked like, it's in his face is the grimace, and what would make the passage better? Dad, would you like to have a muffin with cannabis in it? And it was like, what's he going to say? We've never even mentioned the word in the house before, ever. And he says, sure. And so we gave him a little of this muffin, and he ate it. And then a few minutes later, he was reaching for his cane, and I thought, oh, he's going to get up. He's going to walk around the block. He's going to be better. He's not going to die. And then I looked over again, and he was sleeping. And he passed away very peacefully that night.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. I mean, it is. I've done hospice nursing and without cannabis, and I've done hospice nursing with cannabis. And I'm going to tell you, the better death is with cannabis, hands down. And even doing that now. A lot of patients that are coming to us for palliative care, when they transfer over to hospice, it's just a matter of just switching things around and just really truly helping them. But the goal is to get them on the plant sooner, right? So hopefully you don't have to get to hospice.
The better passage.
Well, yeah. It's better healthy for the living too. I mean, I've been smoking and growing pot since I was, like I said, 16, but 1974. But at the same time,
Mark, how old are you for the viewers?
64, almost 65 now.
Okay,
so,
64, 65.
Yeah, 65 basically in next month. And,
68.
She's past 68, beautiful as ever. She's still riding mountain bikes, and I'm doing that and playing soccer like I did last night. Cannabis, using it is, people say, what's your secret? And I say, I don't know, secret, just good, healthy, probably mostly genetics, but also consuming cannabis products. Patty does some oils like the kind of bloom. And
I was just going to ask you, what is your cannabis regimen? Because this is for older folks. There's people that are new that are out there that might be, hearing this for the first time, might be learning about cannabis for the first time, might be curious about it for the first time. What do you use, and what would you recommend that they start with?
Well, I mean, just before Patty, because Patty's got some great ones. She's got her own anecdotal story, but I was just going to say real quick that I make a balm that Patty uses, and I give it away to a bunch of my soccer buddies, and they use it on their joints, and then oh my God, this really works. And one or two of them said, it kind of stopped the pain, but I don't know if it's doing anything. So that's great. Sometimes it works better for others. One of my friends gave it to her mom, which is a staunch, no, I'm never using cannabis. He said, well, hey, Mom, you're not going to get high. It's just a balm. Put it on your joints. The next day, my mom said, I haven't had a good sleep like this for 8 years, a complete sleep. So we know it works. Anecdotally, I've seen it. Look, when we were filming, the guy puts it on the dog's tongue and stops spasming and goes back to sleep. Patty, you tell them what you do, your regimen.
Okay, are we smiling? All right. So I take a tincture every morning and every night. So it's in a dropper, and I figured out that it's about that much in the dropper, and I take that in the dropper every morning and every night. And then after riding a mountain bike, it's for my shoulders, arthritis, degenerative arthritis. And after a ride, sometimes, it's like running a jackhammer. So it'll be a little like, then I put the balm on it. And it's almost instantaneous relief. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Good stuff, So you guys you've been using cannabis for a very long time. I have a fun story just to share with the viewers. So it was actually a 70-year-old nurse who introduced cannabis to me when I was sick and suffering. I was on 18 pharmaceuticals. She was actually my Reiki master. I was her energy healer prior to getting sick. So I did Reiki and energy healing and reconnective healing and all kinds of other, holistic modalities. And she was my client. And so she was trying to get in touch with me, and I was too sick. Finally, she got smart. She knew I was a nurse. She's like, she's sick. She comes over to my house and she brings a joint. And she literally held up the joint to me and said, Sherry, I need you to get with the program. She goes, cannabis has been legal in Massachusetts since 2012 for medicine. It is now 2014. You are sick, suffering, and dying. And she goes, and I want to disclose to you that I have been using cannabis every single day since I was 17. That's 53 years of using cannabis every day. And I've never been hospitalized, and I'm not on any ongoing pharmaceuticals. Then she disclosed that her father was a pharmacist that actually carried cannabis formulations in his pharmacy prior to 1937.
Wow.
So then of course, I inhaled that cannabis. And the part that was interesting was that it was so interesting. And I share this openly because I want to decrease the stigma. I smoked cannabis, did 2 puffs, and literally the pain went from a 10 to a 0. The 3rd puff, I felt like my head cracked open and consciousness poured in. And I just had that aha moment. I was like, wow, this works. And now I have to figure out how to make it work for me so I can help others. And literally, the story of the green nurse was birthed. I went to the dispensary. I went to the dispensary, bought all kinds of products. I sat at this table, looked at all of it, and I said, if I can figure this out, you can call me the green nurse. Well, it took me a long time to figure it out. And you want to know where I learned? I learned from the grassroots community. I started meeting the caregivers, the people in the community that have been doing this, making medicines for generations to help save lives. And I delved into that community and learned. And they taught me everything that I know about cannabis as medicine. And so now my job as a nurse is I like to take that grassroots and then now marry it to research, science, and patients that we're working with to truly elevate the message of cannabis.
That's excellent.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Good stuff. Really good stuff. So let's get, what are some of your other favorite stories? So what were some of the other big things while you were traveling? Because that's a long time, 7 years traveling the world. When did you finally decide to say, okay, it's good, let's put it together, right? Because to be quite honest, I think I would love to go on a 7-year journey of traveling, meeting people, experiencing the plant, its consciousness, the culture, and all the people that are around, that are elevating the plant in their different areas of the world. And how amazing was it that you could experience that? I could see why you would want to keep going, right? I feel through your film all that you experienced. Why would you ever want it to end?
That's possibly why the series might happen. But
Patty, it doesn't have to end.
But I mean, we definitely want to tell you some great stories. Pat's got a couple. I got a couple. We can start. You want to start with anything, Pat?
Yes. What came to mind immediately was our time in South Africa, and it coincided with a cruise we were on. So when we made landfall, first we started in Cape Town, and then we cruised up the East Coast to a place that was formerly Port Elizabeth, now it's Chavera, and a place called Richards Bay. And we had discovered that in South Africa, the plant has been legalized for personal use. And what that means is that people who like the plant can create these social clubs. And it's a personal use place. If you're a member, you're using it with other members. And so it's working very well. So in Richards Bay, we got off the ship and we got into we got kind of funneled into a really sketchy section of town. And there were some people, hey, ride with us. And we're like, and our hairs rose up, and we kind of quickly moved and found a place where we could make a phone call to Uber. And the Uber took us to a place called the Pottery. And in the Pottery, we met a man named Aiden Lee, and he told us all about cannabis in South Africa. And he shared so much with us, and he was such a happy man. And the same was true as we would go to other social clubs in South Africa, that it was just a place, especially in South Africa, where apartheid is very thinly veiled. It's still there. It still exists. But these social clubs bring mixed salad, is how one person put it.
Well, there was one guy that picked us up near the cruise ship terminal where we got off, and he said, "I knew you were coming." And I go, "Well, we hadn't even called you yet." And he goes, "Yeah, well, it's the South African telegram. One pot shop and club, social club, told them, hey, there's some Americans doing a cannabis documentary, and they might be coming your way." And sure enough, we showed up and they were all ready for us. It was amazing without even calling them.
Oh, that's really cool. That's so cool. And see, they took care of you guys. I mean, what a really, and see, what a really, it's like, what a beautiful story that they welcomed you with open arms, ready to share. You know, thank you for coming. We're ready to speak. We're ready to share our truth. We're ready to share our love of this plant. Right?
Yeah. And I must say, Mark, that it was the most potent bud. Very, very potent.
Yeah, they have some definitely good quality even down in South Africa. They could kind of, it's not quite like Amsterdam where you have to kind of grow it in secret. And they're going, well, how is it supposed to be getting into the coffee clubs? Well, here they readily bring it in. Some of them said they were growing it in not just in South Africa, but like other surrounding countries, Namibia, etc., bringing it in. But it's legal there, so that was pretty cool. Whereas Uruguay, when we were down there in South America, that was the first country to legalize cannabis. Very progressive country, progressive president at the time, and we went to their pot museum, which was in the trailer there briefly, along with the Amsterdam Pot Museum there, and we didn't film in the Spanish one in Barcelona, but we visited it previously to 2016. So every country we went to, every person we met, like you said, there's just, the tribe is so special, so, happy to share information. Even the guy in South Africa, Cannabisters, I think it was called, he didn't want to go on camera, but he was more than happy to share all his buds and his rosins and get us a good deal on some pot we could bring back. And you go, wait, but he's not supposed to bring back some pot from South Africa, but my collection liked it, Yeah. It's just nice to have something I can whip out. Hey, this is from South Africa.
So for the viewers, the bud that you held up is actually a bud from.
Well, it's part of it's a more recent part. It's 2020 Nectarball I grew. It smells less like a pine tree now than it used to. The terpenes have gone down. Every year goes by. The really old pot I have, it's like mummies. It's not gonna get you high if you smoked it even, but the DNA is in there. The land race, everything. There's still something. There's still a little there. You gotta. And you don't want to really touch it to break anything open to smell, but it's still there. But more importantly, I think, is the DNA. Now, this kind of thing, yes, you can be happy. You see me, I'll smoke you what we call pipettes. Sometimes I don't feel like smoking whole joints, so I have what they call a pipette. Back in the 70s, I used to sell them in head shops for like a quarter each or $5 for $1. But this is, for me, the cleanest way to smoke, if you're going to smoke. I mean, tinctures.
So what do you do with the pipette? I haven't used a pipette before.
Well, it basically take, your piece of bud, and since it's kind of like a pine tree, there's a point at the bottom where it pops off, and then you take a little piece off like that, and then you just simply place it inside the pipette. It has already a little crimp in the middle, so the ash won't go past that point. It's 5 1/4 inches, so it really cools down as opposed to short pipes, which make the smoke seem hot. So it's really cool. There's no paper or glue like in a joint. You light it, you take one hit, it goes immediately out. It's a very efficient way to smoke. To me, it's a great way to connoisseur and taste even before you light it. You can taste the beautiful terpenes, flavors, the smell. I mean, it's everything about it is fabulous. When you finally light it, you take your one little hit. You can pass to somebody else or not. Especially during COVID, you just keep your own pipette. If other people want to smoke, you can tell them, here's a pipette for you. You either pack it with some more, or you just pop the other pipette in and you smoke from the other person. But it's a lot more sanitary. Something I figured out when I was in.
And actually for patients, I think it's good because a lot of patients, it's the one is what they need. Sometimes it's all they just need is one hit just to help decrease the anxiety, decrease the nausea, to be able to get in the other oils. And that's a clean way of doing it. Because I have a lot of patients, sometimes they don't want to get the big dry herb. They don't want to do the bong. They don't want to do the joints. But this is clean.
Yeah, we'll probably be selling these on our website someday, but as merch and along with hats, and maybe some shirts and who knows what else, and maybe bombs eventually. But
and maybe Nectarball strain someday. Someday when legalization happens, we'll see Nectarball strain has arrived.
Yep, decriminalized. Back when I was in college in 1979, I used to have what we call a smoke-in after the watermelon drop at UCSD. We put posters around, says, come on to the Revel Quad, and we have a smoke-in. And we just handed out hundreds of joints to hundreds of people. And we smoked, and we said, don't legalize, decriminalize. That was our thing back in the late 70s. And I did that all the way to like 81 when I graduated. And finally, they, the pipettes and the pot is finally, we've finally gone from Schedule 1 in my lifetime to Schedule 3 maybe soon, who knows, and hopefully decriminalized entirely or at least descheduled. And let's get these farmers and dispensaries, let's get the taxes down. Let's help these people get the medicine out to the people. And we all need, this is what we made the movie, to try and help people, help heal the planet, as it says in the title. The more you, Sherry, and all of us can help people, like you said, destigmatize, start using this as the medicines. Like I had 3 friends that had the glioblastoma brain tumor, which is going to kill you in 5 years. Only 5% live longer than that. All 3 of them did Western medicine, but the 2 that did the cannabis products are still alive today. The one that didn't is dead.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's just anecdotal stuff. I'm not saying it cures cancer or anything, but I'm just saying there's magic in this pot.
It is. There is. It's a pleiotropic. And when you truly understand the endocannabinoid system and how it modulates all areas of our body, and how we have an endocannabinoid system, not because of the cannabis plant, but because we make molecules in our body very similar to the plant that nudge those receptors to correct cell signaling to bring our body back to balance. I love to look at cannabis as a phytobotanical nutrient. It is a supplement that my body needs to keep me well-oiled and functioning optimally, keeping me off of pharmaceuticals, out of the hospital, being able to engage in those 4 pillars, moving well and resting and connecting and eating well and, exercising, and without this plant, I was on 18 pharmaceuticals and I was home, sick, suffering, depressed, anxious, had agoraphobia, couldn't leave my home, couldn't take care of my kids. It's horrible. Horrible. So this plant.
I was going to say, it sounds like endocannabinoids deficiency syndrome.
Well, it is, because when I break down my case, and trust me, I have as a nurse, and I brought it to all of the 5 specialists that I had to manage my care and said, how did you not know this? Because if you knew about the endocannabinoid system, you would see that I already had a little bit of a deficiency based on the fact that I had a history of migraines. I have a history of ADHD, right? And so when my body took a big hit from this bacteria, all of the things that they prescribed to me made my endocannabinoid system weaker, right? The pills, the procedures, I was constantly in the stress response. And then it was one pill after another. And that's what we're seeing. Again, we're seeing what we call pharmaceutical and medical trauma. We're traumatizing patients. And if doctors and clinicians knew about the endocannabinoid system, even if you don't believe in cannabis, we still have a system that is affected by what we tell our patients to do or not do. So if we're prescribing a treatment to a patient because they need it for a particular reason, and it's going to negatively impact the endocannabinoid system, your job as a clinician is to know what are the things that can mitigate that and possibly prevent a worsening of an endocannabinoid deficiency. And the endocannabinoid system can be modulated not just with cannabis, but also health and wellness activities. There are so many different things. Laughter, believe it or not, stimulates the endocannabinoid system. We release the anandamide molecule. Very similar. Breath work, taking a deep breath, that whole inhale. Ananda, breath work and meditation and mindfulness. Studies have shown increases our anandamide level tenfold. So we have the ability to interact with this system even without cannabis. And that's the most important message I want clinicians to understand is even if you don't believe in cannabis, there's still a system and it's important. And it's the master regulatory system that regulates all 11 organ systems, your immune system, and all of the neurotransmitter signaling systems. So as a clinician, you're prescribing, you need to know this. And if you don't, come to us. We'll teach you because I didn't know it either.
Right. That's what you're teaching. That's what this movie and documentary is doing. Because I didn't know about the endocannabinoid system. I guess it was something discovered in '91 by Raphael Mechoulam, the scientist.
Well,
but
how they discovered it was
tens of thousands of years, and it's in every mammal.
Yeah, how they discovered it was fascinating because they discovered, the THC molecule in 1964, and then they're researching and wondering and trying to figure out how and why it works on so many different systems at the same time. So in one of the studies, they injected someone with THC under radiographic imaging, and they saw that we light up like a Christmas tree, that we have receptors on all of the cell surfaces of all of our organ systems. We have receptors actually inside of our cells. I just learned that's a new one. We have receptors at the neurotransmitter signaling junction sites, that dopamine, the norepinephrine, epinephrine, trip receptors, opioid receptors. So cannabinoid receptors interact there. So this system is the master regulatory system that regulates everything. So it makes sense that if it's the most important system in the body, that's the system we take care of first.
Sure seems like it. It's like I had some friends that we'd go mountain biking and they had asthma and they didn't do inhalers. They just took some hits. And I thought, how the hell is that helping? I thought that would have made it worse. You would know.
Well, you have to think about it's a bronchodilator. So when specific strains or specific cannabinoid profiles, terpenes that are all together, when people can inhale, cannabis is a vasodilator. It opens up vessels. It's a bronchodilator. It can open up your airways. So it's very interesting. 2 stage 4 cancer patients that I've been taking care of, literally last week, just got complete remission, both of them. And the inhalation method wasn't partaking in one of them, but one of them it was. But the bottom line is those patients that have stage 4 cancer in the lungs that I've worked with have inhaled cannabis to decrease nausea so they could get in their other oils. They've also used it, believe it or not, to decrease anxiety around being short of breath, right? So you think about when you're short of breath, you become anxious and you start to hyperventilate. So the cannabis was able to help them get into the relaxation response to decrease their anxiety around having difficulty breathing. Cannabis and coughing, everyone's like, oh, you're coughing. No, coughing isn't bad. Coughing is an expectorant. So the patient that has a mucus plug and things that are filled in their lungs, the expectorant process of the cannabinoids that allowed them to cough, to clear their airway, to clear that mucus plug, to open up the ability to more oxygen-rich air getting into their circulatory system. So the inhalation actually improved their ability to what? Live their best life for the time of the amount, live their best life for the amount of time that they had left, right? And that's important, really important. So let's talk about what's next for Crystal Pyramid Productions. Are there any upcoming projects or topics you're expected to explore during the documentary filmmaking? We want to make sure we are able to give people an opportunity to get to know you guys and to contact you as well.
Yeah, it's I think the number one thing that's what you're showing right now is like the press kit. We have a lot more testimonials now since we put this one out, so we have to come up with another one here soon. But best way to keep in touch is go onto the Nectarball website, enter your email so that we can send you out VIP tickets, a promo codes to helping you get a discount. I think we're like $8.88 for the world premiere. And on top of that, there's be a video on demand if you don't make it to the question and answers or the world premiere, which is going to be spectacular. Like I said, celebrity guests and everything after, people to communicate. Come to your tribe, smoke a doob if you want, at your house while you're in the lounge with other people talking and chatting. And then after the world premiere for 2 days till October 22nd, it'll be on video on demand on Filmocracy. We will, after that, we'll have to see when we re-release it again, or if we come out with a series like that. But we need funding, and that's why we're even selling tickets for $888 and then $420 for the video on demand. That helps. And on top of that, we're going to probably have some people from like Oaksterdam University, like Dale and Jeff. Jeff's in the movie, and Oaksterdam University will have a little place for people to go to and maybe sign up and join the movement. Because once you've been inspired by the documentary, you're going to want to do something about it. So why not, learn more? If you want to learn more, you go to Sherry here and to Green Nurse. You go to Oaksterdam University. You do John Sally's presentation or 22, John Sally presents.com, etc. There's all kinds of wonderful people and wonderful places to visit and learn more about cannabis. And but it starts with the movie. Pat and I, all these wonderful luminaries, the best of the best quotes, all the best stories are all there going to be for you. There's Dan Hare. He's holding up a $10 bill that actually had hemp on the back of it in the old days before it was illegal. Matter of fact, they used to have to make it, and George Washington, the movie starts out with a Jefferson quote, ends with a Jefferson quote, and Jack Hare. And all these wonderful people that have wonderful things to say. There's Elizabeth Mack, and she was at the Cannabis Nurses Network conference along with Nurse Heather, who puts it on, and her fabulous partner Ken Sobel, and of course Tommy Chong in there. It's just fabulous. We interviewing. I knew Tommy when I was 20 and he was 40, and then I was interviewing when I was 60 and he's 80. So that was pretty fun. And talking about terpenes there and putting a little in my mustache. Right, Patty?
Yeah. Jason Pinsky. Right. He just had a baby.
There's congrats, Jason. Then there's the Amsterdam crew. I think that's
and then Gerda de Jong, who's seated next to his wife. He passed away, but he is one of the heroes of the cannabis movement. People who stood up for the plant and under threat of losing everything in their life, their homes, their families, their livelihoods, they still rose up to protect that plant, to literally hold the torch of the plant, the healing plant that they all know can heal people.
And Rhinus, you talked about
you are.
Yeah, and that's it's the big 4K Sony FS7 we used to shoot with for both our corporate clients and for the movie. And Pat getting a release form signed there by Adam Ill, I think, right, Pat?
Yes, Adam Ill, and there's Ed Rosenthal.
Ed Rosenthal, of course, the famous Ed Rosenthal. That's great stuff.
And Adrian Dev, who's now on the SAG-AFTRA protesting site.
And there's some more interviewees that we put in there. White Cliff, Pat, and Dan Hare, and Petri, Alexander, and there's Raphael Meshulam.
Yeah.
He did say, there's this wonderful quote from Dr. Raphael, "I only wish that I had more years to devote to the research of this plant." And he was obviously very disappointed that our government hadn't made any moves yet to try and investigate this plant and take it off the Schedule 1, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, because we're losing we're getting a brain drain. One of the guys, the scientists we interviewed at Outco, so a growing dispensary type place in San Diego, and the guy says, "I'm going to Canada because it's legal there and I can study it more. I can't study it here the way I want to." Yeah. So that's a sad thing. That's the future. If we don't deschedule it, we're going to lose more people. I mean, Israel started, like I said, in '64. Raphael Meshulam discovered THC and his story is marvelous about how he got a brick of hash from the police to study it. Sure, you're taking. So
yeah, he does. His story is great. The scientist, it's amazing.
You get to learn a lot. This movie's going to really wake people up if we can get people to see it and watch it, not just on the world premiere, but that's because then you can interact with people. But the video on demand, or if someday we'll probably make DVDs. I know that sounds a little antiquated, but we got it. That's how else do you get these things out these days? Pat and I used to be kings of distribution back in the Mooney video days in the 80s and 90s. We sold VHSs. Anybody remember VHS?
I remember VHSs. Yes, I do. Yeah. So we are going to spread the good word. So I have been streaming live on multiple different platforms tonight. Some of the platforms I have not streamed live on before. I want to give a big shout out to Mommy Needs a Joint for allowing me to stream live today. On the platform, Bloom Hemp, Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse, Cannabis Radio Network, and the community. So really, really happy to be here. Really happy to share the message of Nectarball, the story of cannabis. Cannabis saved my life. It could save your life too. And remember, everyone, what it's truly all about. It is about living your best life and helping others do the same. Thank you for joining us tonight.